Hey y'all, it's me, Ryan. Before this episode starts, I'm just putting a little secret message in here for you. This message is going to self-destruct in a week. I'm going to delete this intro here in 1 week, but I wanted to pop in here because I want to share something with y'all that's been in the works for more than a year that I am now just quietly launching here for you, the initial crew who are listening to this Noah Wheeler episode, and that is the Intentional Climber app. So now, if you've listened to this podcast for a while, or maybe you're new right now, but I just got to tell you, I've tried every single climbing app under the sun, and also like all the personal training apps out there. And, you know, some of them are really decent for logging workouts or good for like loading training plans, but none of them ever really felt like they were built around the actual experience of being a climber. The projecting, the motivation dips, the mental game, and just trying to make the most out of our limited time as very busy climbers. And that's where Intentional Climber comes in. I've been using and testing this app for months now, most meaningfully when I was on my journey to go from V4 to V8 in under a year. And I did that. I achieved that goal by using Intentional Climber, by keeping myself focused, on track, accountable, and also able to see what was working and what wasn't in my training and my performance. I love this app so much. And why am I telling you about it right now? Why this secret message, Ryan? Well, because we're offering a 1 week secret special offer for you who are listening to this show right now. Pop over to the App Store or Google Play and download Intentional Climber. You can try it totally for free for 2 weeks. And also, if you enter code LAUNCHCREW, you're going to get a huge discount and you're going to unlock 2 coaching plans. A 12-week program from Colin McGee that's called Complete Climber, that's all about strength and fitness for climbers. And another one, Stronger Fingers by Coach Chris Hampton. That's an 8-week program focusing specifically on how to get stronger fingers in the shortest amount of time. So that's 20 weeks of programming, over $300 of value right there that you will unlock by using code LAUNCHCREW when you sign up and try Intentional Climber. I'll put the link down there in the show notes. There's meditations in there from Hazel Finlay, world-class coaching plans, and then just all the tools that'll help you to be a more intentional climber and make every session count. I'm so psyched for it. Okay, let's get into this episode.
Audio.
I have to do this again right now or go home having done the boulder but not having done it. And like, I don't know if I can go back.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Struggle Climbing Show. It's me, Ryan, and I could not be more hyped for this episode with absolute crusher Noah Wheeler and just a really thoughtful, insightful guy. Man, this conversation took some twists and turns that I cannot wait for y'all to dive into. I won't even belabor this intro. You guys know Noah. He's a friggin' boss. He's out there crushing V17s for breakfast. He just dispatched Burden of Dreams, the ultimate classic, and we dive into that one in great detail in this conversation here. He did that in just like a handful of sessions. Is it V17? Is it V16? Is it V32? I don't know. We have a conversation around that, but also around just like the process, the mental process and the physical process of putting together one of the world's hardest and most famous boulders. He's also done a couple other V17s, as you probably know, Shaolin, Return to the Sleepwalker, and some insanely hard V16s, and maybe a V15 that he put up in his home state of Pennsylvania that may ultimately settle at V17 for all we know. This guy's so strong, he doesn't know how to grade. And we talk about that, in fact. Like, he just kind of admits that, like, the freaks, the outliers, maybe aren't the best ones to talk to about grading. Really, really interesting conversation. We do follow the struggle chapters. So we talk about training, nutrition, tactics, and mental game. But we unpack a lot of that first through this lens of his recent trip to Finland to work on Burden of Dreams. But then we wander into a bunch of other areas, and especially the mindset area and an exploration of happiness and optimism and what that can do for us as climbers, as well as probably the most famous dab in bouldering history up to this point, his ice cold post, the quote unquote good link, where he sent Burden after just doing a tiny little dab on the first move. But what that meant for him mentally as he then tried to do it again. Basically a second send in the same exact session before the weather turned and he had to head home. It's all in here. I'm so psyched. And there's also a banger bonus episode. I'll tell you more about my climbing and what's going on for me this spring and summer at the back end of this thing as well. But let's just chalk up and pull on right now with Noah Wheeler. I think the spring season's, if not officially done,
It's over.
It's pretty damn close. Like,
Yeah.
we're looking at the 10-day forecast and we're like, maybe one more? Is there one more out there? But I don't think so, dude.
Yeah.
Getting into training season now. Well, dude, it's good to meet you, man.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
You've been a tough one to pin down.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, I kind of want to save it for after I send. Like, it just feels like I'm like, why would I do a podcast before I like do this climb that I'm close to doing? You know what I mean?
Totally. No,
So-
we definitely have more to talk
Yeah.
about now than if we had talked like a month ago. So this is good.
Yeah,
timing
I was
for
like,
sure.
I don't know what I'm talking about.
Congratulations. It's awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Burden of Dreams. I mean, it kind of doesn't get more classic than that, I feel like. That's it. That's the one.
I know. People have been asking me to write little blurbs, and it's been hard to like, how did it feel like to do it? Like, what are you going to do next? And I'm like, yeah, Burden was kind of like the one, you know?
Right.
I guess I create my own next thing. Like, I could try other V17s and they're sick and I'd want to, but in terms of like in style things, like forward style climbs, like Burden's kind of like the pinnacle so far, just in terms of like at least prestige, you know, something like that, like, which is not as meaningful, but also like perceived difficulty. So it's like, gotta go find stuff, I guess. I don't know.
Was it always Burden? Like, was there like the sketch pad or the whiteboard for you and like what you've been working towards, whether it's board climbs or outdoor climbs? Have they all been a stepping stone to Burden?
I'm a very like in the moment sort of person in my perception of self. And I kind of just look at the projects I'm immediately trying. And once I do those, then I'll look to like, what's just the next thing. I'm also kind of a superstitious person when it comes to goals. And so I was never like, I'm going to set Burden of Dreams. Before that was like my exact like intention. You know what I mean? Like, so a year ago, like when I was trying Shaolin, I wasn't like, I'm going to try Burden, like I'm going to send Burden of Dreams. Even like, and 2 years ago when I was training, like I had like kind of like improvement in my skill and strength around that time. I wasn't training to do Burden of Dreams or anything like that. I was just training to get better. But it was always just like in the periphery, it was like, that's the one, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, it just mentally, it's easier for me that way. It's like, there's no pressure for myself if I don't have like some set goal, and I just try really hard for the things that are like directly in front of me. And I'll have like way more just ambiguous goals. Like my general goal is like, I just want to get better. I just want to be the best. I want to be the best board climber in the world or something like that. You know, like it's a very general goal where it's just like, it encourages some try hard, but that's kind of the extent. It doesn't push on a lot of like pressure for myself.
More of a process goal than an outcome goal, if you will.
That's very true. It's not an achievements based, system of goals for me. It's way more process based. Because you can control the process, you just can't control the achievements. You have to control the process in order to eventually control the achievements, you know?
I really like that. I think you're really thoughtful, just from what I've read from you and some of the videos that you've put together. Like, you seem to be very focused on process and in particular mastery and kind of the nuance and the almost intangibles of continuous improvement. And I find that super inspiring because whatever grade you climb, like that is something that you can be focused on. Do you, like, if you look back 5 years or 10 years, is that something like that you've kind of always had as a personality of a rock climber, or has this been something that's evolved for you over your years of climbing?
Yeah, thank you. I'm not sure. Like, it's just the norm for me, I guess. And so I don't really perceive that to the same degree, you know? At this point, it's like my job. So like, I feel obligated to go into as much nuance as I possibly can. I mean, honestly, so I guess you could say part of that for me right now, and it's only been a few months, maybe it's been like a year actually, since I graduated college and since it's become like my full-time job. But I've really dialed in like tactics in the past year or so. And that's part of that, just like zoning in on micro nuances and stuff like that. But prior to that, and I would say especially in the beginning of college, when I was like 18, 19, 20, I was like horrible at tactics, and I was not really concerned with like micro nuances at all. I kind of had like just mentality where it was just like, you should be strong enough to just do this no matter what. A good example is I was kind of known among my friend group for climbing with tape at all times. I had the worst skin of all time. I never used moisturizer. I didn't use Tegaderm or any of these like tools to like heal your skin. I would just like keep climbing no matter how my skin was. And the ideal was just like, I should be strong enough to do this climb, like no matter what. And also it's good training. That's still my mentality when it comes to training in the gym. But I understand like when it comes outdoors, like there's no reason not to just zone in on those micro nuances. And like, there's no reason not to try and heal your skin. And also I've realized that these pockets of nuances are way deeper than I thought they would be. Like you can always get better at healing your skin. Especially, I wasn't super into the mental aspect of sending and projecting when I was a little younger, as I was referencing, but now been thinking a lot just about, my mental process. And I've gone a lot into that in these like recent projecting experiences I've had. And that is also just an infinite well of like possibility. Yeah. So I've kind of taken that idea of just like pushing myself as hard as possible in one aspect. But I've realized that instead of just pushing myself in terms of strength or like willpower, I can do that in a lot of other more nuanced areas. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely want to kind of explore and unpack all of those specific areas. And so like on the show, I break it up into chapters here. So we'll talk about training, nutrition, tactics, mental game, and then some things kind of beyond that. Obviously, we're going to talk a lot about burden in this one, but your kind of ascent through difficult climbs has been at such a warp speed. We can look back not that many months and certainly years and grab any number of other climbs that we can explore as we're looking at these different things, which I'm psyched on. And I think what we should do here, Noah, is just start where we always start, which is with struggle. And so just as a climber, like what's your relationship with struggle? How do you think about struggle as a boulderer?
I need to think about this for a second. It's a hard question. I'm sure you must receive many different interpretations of the word struggle. But I guess that's kind of the point.
And to be fair, it's very narrowly focused on the elective struggle that we take on as climbers. Obviously, there are much bigger and far more...
tell you about a breakover or something. Yeah,
exactly. There's much bigger, like, real-life struggles out there. But climbing can be a struggle, too. And so, I'm curious, just as you reflect back on your journey and just how you handle it now, like,
for sure.
What's your relationship with struggle?
I mean, I've gone through a lot of shifts in my interpretation of struggle. So it's definitely been like an evolution for me. I'll say I began taking outdoor bouldering seriously in freshman year of college.
So we're kind of understanding for the listener as well. Prior to that, you were doing a lot of competitions, right? Like you kind of came up through the comp.
From 8 years old to 18, I was doing competitions,
right?
Just like nationals and all that. And then I went outside and I was way better outside than I was inside. And I had done a lot of board climbing and I just like shifted in that direction because that's also where my psych was. But I actually went to college in Colorado so that I could boulder outside more. But also beginning my outdoor bouldering career in Colorado kind of shaped my experience of struggle as well, because I found a lot of the climbs out there weren't fun to try. Like I have very dry skin as well. I would split just constantly, like every single session going outside, and I would still go outside. And I developed this like complex, in the first like 2 years of college, where I understood that climbing was kind of just like a wrestle with struggle and a way like an attempt to engage with it and like harness it and match with it rather than to like avoid it. And so I remember trying this climb Adrenaline, a V16 that Daniel eventually FA'd, Daniel Woods, but at that point it was a project and it has a disgusting left hand finger lock on it. Just like horrible for the skin. You're putting all of your weight, so like 150, 160 pounds in like your pointer finger, like a tiny part of your pointer finger. It's just so painful. Yeah. And that's probably why it's called adrenaline, because you need adrenaline to like deal with it, the pain, And I remember I was trying this boulder and I was like reflecting afterwards, maybe to my brother or something, about how like climbing it, like I just need to maximize my relationship with pain and struggle in order to send this boulder. Like if I can deal with more pain, then I'll eventually send this boulder. And like, it kind of made me a little existential as to why I'm climbing in the first place outdoors, because there's an inherent bad part of struggle. Like it doesn't feel good. And you don't, especially when it's like your skin that's getting destroyed, you're not feeling immediate gain. It's not like your muscles are breaking down and then rebuilding stronger. You're getting more used to being in pain. But actually, so that was my interpretation of struggle at the time. And it's actually evolved a lot since then. And so now I don't think climbing is quite as much an attempt to cope with the inherent struggle of it. I think there are ways to minimize the struggle, but rather I think for me, it's all about reinterpreting climbing and the boulder and myself. And actually, Hamish helped me understand this a lot. In fact, one of the first things he told me when we hung out that I didn't really understand was that climbing is only hard until you believe it's not hard. And that's when you ascend. And I thought that was a little silly at the time. And I still think it's not exactly how I interpret climbing. But when you look at struggle, at least, like if I reinterpret my relationship to adrenaline and like I don't emphasize the perception of pain when I'm trying it, and rather I look at the way that I'm exerting weight through my feet or just the way that I'm placing my hands, the struggle is minimized, which is less important. And like in that way, since I mean, effectively everything that you're perceiving is scaled by your perception of it, the less struggle, just that's it. And so for me, I've kind of reinterpreted struggle to be something that is inherent, but like is never the focal point. And so it's just not kind of that important to me. The projecting process, there's always inherent struggle. Like you get shitty weather windows and it sucks. Like your fingers split. And I'm thinking about Burden when I'm talking about this. You know, I had an entire trip. I went to Burden twice, and the first trip it rained for 2 weeks, and so I could only get 3 sessions on it. You know, but I wasn't that upset.
You were out there with Hamish at that time?
Yeah, that was with Hamish.
Right.
Yeah, I wasn't that upset with it because I've kind of just like in the past year or 2 years completely re-examined my mental state and reinterpreted my perception of struggle and the process and all this stuff. I've been reading a book called The Happiness Advantage by this guy, Sean Aker, because I've been trying to deep dive into the idea of reinterpreting your perception of feelings and emotions and all these things that might seem objective. And this book is basically about how happiness precedes success. Success does not lead to happiness necessarily, but rather if you like encounter something with a happy disposition, you're much more likely to be successful in it. And I think it's because it's really just what you're emphasizing in your brain when you approach something. Like that's really all it is. If you're optimistic, if you look at things with the understanding that you can succeed in them, you're like much more likely to succeed in them than if you approach it like emphasizing the struggle or the pain. You can use the same exact approach for bouldering, you know?
Well, and just the exposure of it as well, as you've said, like you've been trying some of the hardest boulders in the world for years now. And so you, in a way, can learn how to handle that process a lot better. And a lot of what you just said there, keeping some notes because I'm going to loop back to this. We're going to do a whole chapter on the mindset and mental game. So I want to learn more about that book as well. But yeah, we'll keep the listener waiting for a second because that's my favorite chapter. That's why I put it at the end. Makes people listen through the whole thing. Although we get to start with some dessert. I always give the listener some dessert to start, and that's training because everybody loves to geek out over training. So yeah, let's talk about training for a little bit because I know this has been talked about as well, but I was just thinking about it the other day as I was just throwing myself at my kilter board and really struggling on it. But I've seen incredible benefits to my climbing since programming hard board climbing workouts in it. And I've talked with climbers on this show. Alex Honnold comes to mind that were kind of considered the quote unquote first generation that came up in the climbing gym and like a little bit more modern style climbing gyms. Of course, he was a little bit older. I mean, he was in his teens, I think, or maybe just shy of his teens when he started climbing in a gym. In any case, boards weren't around at that time. But I think you might be of the first like board climbing generation, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, do you recall the first time you climbed on a board?
I began climbing when I was 8. I'm like 23 now. I don't know how long. I don't know, 15 years ago. But I don't think boards were around until I was in my until I was like maybe in like middle school, like 12, 13, like really around. But I started climbing on boards when I was like 16, I would say 15, 16. And it was the Moon 2016.
Sure.
Which makes sense. And then it was the TB1. Those are like the two boards that I hopped on. But I mean, I was at that age where like I could get those, youthful gains, I guess. I don't know. And I could really acclimate nervous system wise and stuff.
Did you take to it right away? Like, did it just have your psych from day one?
Yeah. I was in ISO at Reach Climbing and Fitness in Pennsylvania for like some comp. Maybe it was like nationals or something. I don't know. And there's a moon board 2016, and I'd never been on a single board while I was in meso. And this guy was like, yeah, this guy Solomon Barth maybe was like, yeah, like, no, you should hop on this, like, and there was a V9 up. Like, I feel like you'd be good at this style. And I hop on it, and I flashed the V9, and I'm like, whoa.
Dude.
I guess, and everyone was like, whoa, you must be really good. And I was like, oh, really? Like, it's only V9. Like, but they were like, yeah, but like, moonboard's really hard, you know? And I was like, okay, maybe I should like do this more. And then within a few weeks, I had done like the hardest climbs on the moonboard 2016. Like, I'd done like, I think I did a one arm madness or something like that by Daniel Woods. It's some V12 on the, that might not be the exact name, but I think I did that like in one day, like a few weeks into board climbing. And then I had a few other like V11 projects that took like a few weeks or like a few months to do, because those ones were just like anti-style, like Kimchi Bimbop, which is a hard V11, or Style First, which is one by Alex Megos. But
right.
Yeah, then I was locked in, you know, like, but I wouldn't have acclimated so well to, or stuck to the board so immediately if I didn't like get along with them really well in the first place, you know?
Like if you look at kind of your typical training block, look at a few month block, how much are you on boards versus gym sets versus a hang board? Not talking about outside right now. Let's kind of separate outside, but just in terms of like indoor climbing and training, how does that break up for you?
In the last year, it's probably been like 80% boards. And I got injured, so I couldn't do boards for a month.
Right.
Although I was doing boards for a month, but I couldn't use my finger, one finger on boards for a month. And I was doing a lot of slide climbing and gym climbing in that time for like, there was like a 3-month span where I was doing a lot of gym climbing, but that was when I was injured. So when I'm fully healthy, it's like 2 days on, 1 day off, and both days are usually on the board. But ideally I'm doing like first day on the TB2, second day on the kilter board, or like both days on the TB2, but only doing like juggy climbs on the second day,
right?
You know,
so more
like
volume,
first day is like the try hard day,
like limit projects on like super try hard day one, and then something that's like a little bit more volume.
Yeah, limit projects or just like really crimpy on the first day, and then second day, take it easy. But I mean, there's so much like nuance that goes into what I'm actually doing on the boards. Oh, this is also like, I'll do spray board as well. Like usually the second day I'll do spray wall some, but I count that under like boards, even though it's way less intense generally.
And your sessions are they're pretty hard, right? I mean, you've posted some videos about this as well, and you talked about it at the beginning here, like you'll kind of beat yourself up, it sounds like, when you're doing these board sessions. Like I'll do like a hard board session and it'll maybe last like 45 minutes and that's it for me. What's your hard board session looking like?
It's usually like 2 to 3 hours of board climbing, but I take decent rest, I guess. I mean, you just build capacity, but I'm on the lower end compared to some of maybe I'm on the lower end, but like I know some serious board climbers who climb 7 days on, 2 hours a day, like Sean HRM or whatever. I wouldn't recommend that for like 90% of people. It's really just your body though. It's so relative to the person. A big discovery for me was I used to board climb until I felt like quite sub-max, like 50%. And then when I was training for Burden, I started stopping when I felt like a little bit of dip in my strength at all. And I could go into every session like feeling fresh and strong and push that max range way more, like that max intensity. And then I'm way less like likely to injure myself, things like this. And so that was a big discovery for me. I think the ideal is you stop climbing when you feel when your fingers feel a little bit tired, or even just a little bit, like when your muscles are just not firing quite as much as they were at the start of like maybe like an hour in, because you have to be careful with the boards. It's super high intensity.
All right, y'all, just a quick break here to tell you about an app that I have helped to develop. It's been in the works for more than a year, and it has really changed how I have been training and how I've been identifying and then blowing through plateaus, and that is an app called Intentional Climber. And I'm so excited about this, you guys. I've been using it kind of on the down low, like secretly beta testing it for many months now. And it was my main tool to help me structure my training, my reflection, my mindset, and my projecting process as I went from V4 to V8, ultimately sending my big Proj, Bulldog, out here at the Red River Gorge. And Intentional Climber was with me, and they're supporting me every step of the way. So what's the deal? I mean, look, it's an app, okay? It's a training app. So it's got like all the exercises and timers in there. You can do strength assessments and track those with charts over time. You know, all the things that I think we've come to expect with climbing training apps. So what makes it different? Well, it was designed specifically for people like you and me who are very busy climbers so that we can get the most out of every session, so that we're more focused, more consistent, more motivated, and more reflective on every single session that we have, whether that's at a gym, at our house, on a hangboard, or outside. Intentional Climber was built to help us form better habits as climbers, so we're not wasting any sessions. And then we've also got coach plans in there from world-class coaches. So if you download right now and you use code STRUGGLE, not only are you going to get a discount on the app, but you're also going to unlock a Stronger Fingers program from Coach Chris Hampton of Power Company Climbing. That's an 8-week program designed specifically for busy climbers to get stronger fingers in a short amount of time. It's an awesome program, and you get it for free just by using code STRUGGLE. You can download it on the App Store or over at Google Play. I'll put a link right there in your show notes. And again, use code STRUGGLE when you're signing up for it, and that's where you'll get those special perks on Intentional Climber. All right, let's get after it. Let's talk about how you specifically trained for Burden of Dreams, because you took that first trip out there, got shut down by some gnarly weather, but it still gave you an opportunity to be on the block itself. There's probably more beta and videos and replicas for Burden than any other climb out there. So how did you look at your training prior to going back to try to ascend just recently?
Yeah, so the second time around, I injured myself in like January, right? And the idea was I want to go back to Burden before it gets too hot. So April or May. So I had 3 to 4 months to heal my finger. And then also be like trained for Burden, basically, or retrained for Burden. So the first month was just based on rehab. Like, it was maintaining my current strength level while rehabbing, while also working my weaknesses, like feet, right? So I was doing a lot of slab at this time. And this wasn't to train for Burden. It was just to like make me stronger, just a better climber in general. And the second month, I started doing progressive overload for my finger. So I did block pulls, increasing by 5 pounds every day. And by the end of the second month, my hands were pulling similar weights on either side. I mean, my left hand was still way tweakier feeling, just a little more sore and stuff. But at that point, I could like start hopping on the boards. So at the 2 month ago, I began climbing on the boards again. And I took a lot of the Footwork training I'd been doing prior and incorporated that into the boards this was probably I had in mind Burden because it's quite a technical climb. There's a lot of footwork involved and like toe tension in that drop knee especially. And so I knew it'd be helpful if I really like dialed in on bringing what I had worked on slab over to board. So yeah, the third one was a lot of that, and also just like building my board strength up again. Probably not just like nervous system wise, just getting comfortable doing stretching moves on small holds, stuff like that. And I wasn't worried about doing climbs longer than like 5 moves because I knew Burden it's like 4 moves. So I could just focus on one style of climbing and get really good at that style again. And it made it way easier to recover and then also get better than if I was like doing power endurance at the same time. And I didn't really have the time or the reserves given my finger to do both of those things at once. So by the end of the 3 to 3.5 months, like I was feeling back to where I was prior, at least. And the last few weeks, just like pushing that, like I set some Burden replicas on the tension board. They're not very accurate, but they like, I can also like dial in the mindset I need. And that helps when I'm trying moves that are kind of similar-ish to Burden. And I can say the drop knee, and then even the feet don't exactly replicate the exertion of pressure that I have on Burden. Like I can take my experience with Burden and force that into this boulder instead. So do it like suboptimally, but in the way that I know Burden is. So yeah, you got way more Burden specific in the last few weeks. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty much the process. He was lucky though, for sure. I've heard a lot of testimonies from other people saying it took way longer to recover their pulleys and stuff. And this is also like, you got to believe, you know what I mean? Like, it's not just like I did these things as like a black box and then like my pulley just recovered and here I am now. It's a lot of like optimism and believing that like these things will work and that feeling you continuing to do them. And also like when your body's under less stress, it will heal better. Like, I mean, your mental state actually makes a difference for your physical recovery and improvement. So I think that's a huge part of recovery. It's just the mental aspect. And also eating well, like all these things are one and the same, basically.
It's kind of mind-blowing that you sent Burden just a few months after. Was it a full rupture? Was it an A2 rupture?
Yeah, the full A2 rupture of my ring finger, my left ring finger is full on. But I was also like, Burden's the perfect climb for this because it's more right hand focused than left hand focused. Like you do a hard right hand. The Crux move was on the right hand, and I was like, oh, like I've been doing a lot of 2-finger training on my left hand. Like that last throw is like off 2 fingers, right? And then I got there, and it turns out it's off 3 fingers, and your full crimping is 3 fingers to do the last throw on your left hand. But my finger was healed enough to where that was okay. But that's another thing I was just optimistic about. I wasn't even sure that when I went to Burden, I'd be able to like do the moves again. Because obviously my finger got weaker when I wasn't using it. But yeah, I don't know. Well, it's not like I was like 100% in my finger, I guess. Maybe I was. I don't really know.
Well, I mean, it doesn't matter because like the only thing really that matters is if you do the thing, and you did the thing. And while we're here, we might as well talk about the thing, and then we'll get back to kind of the struggle format here. But we're talking about Burden. Let's just keep talking about Burden. So let's talk through when you're out there and you posted this insane video. Do you think, Noah, are you the first climber? Like, did you get the first dab ascent of Burden of Dreams?
Oh, no. Lee Sung-soo got the first dab ascent. Have you seen that?
No.
Dude, you have to watch. I was just honoring him and I like repeating it the same way he did. So this one day, he pulled on, did a big pull up, big pull down on the first move. And when he went fully down, his butt touched the pad. I thought his shirt was the thing that touched the pad, which I would say wouldn't really be a dab, but you can actually see his butt leaves an impression on the pad. And then he pulls up again, and then he goes and he does it, and then he checks the video, and like the next day he checks the video, and he takes it as a dab ascent, so not a real ascent. He goes back the next climbing day and then repeats it again. For me, my process was I had 1 day left. I knew I had 1 day left because the weather got way too bad after that, like way too hot, and I had a fight the next morning. So I was like, this is the day. Like the weather's pretty good. Like this is it. And so I get there and I have all these mental processes that we can talk about later that I'm dialing in. And I'm like, I'm ready. Like, this is it. And oftentimes the first go is the best go on Burden because your fingers just feel the freshest. So I pull on and then I do the move, which for me is pretty high percentage, but it's the hardest move. You can only do it like so many times. And I do it and then my feet kick out. And then when they're kicking back in, I hit the pad and I dab. And I feel the dab, and I know that I dabbed, and my brain's just like, fuck it, like, I'm gonna take the top, because why not? Like, I don't think I'll do the move anyways. Like, because for me, the Crux from the bottom was the last move, which is like a hard, like, one move, 11 or 12, right? And then, yeah, so I'm just like, just keep climbing, and I feel so good. Like, my body feels so fresh, like, I'm hitting every hold perfectly. And then I go for the last move and I stick it for the first time ever from the bottom. Otherwise I would have sent prior. And yeah, I take the top out and I feel nothing. I just like there's just nothing going on in I don't feel any release of like adrenaline or psych, nothing. I'm just like, I didn't send. In fact, I feel bad. I'm like, fuck, I have to do this again. Like,
you seemed so chill in the video. Yannick's filming, right? I think. And like, You hit the kind of the rail, like the last, you hit that last Crux move and then you kind of just bounce out to the right. And he's like, you dabbed, and you're like, I know. And you just kind of chuckled. And I was like, oh my God, this guy's mindset is just so cold right now. But I'm sure there's a million emotions happening at that point.
Yeah, no, I had dialed in the cold mindset prior to going because that's what I needed. But yeah, you get up there and you're like, I sent, but I didn't send. Like, what the hell? Like, I said, but I didn't send. Like, and then I got down and I was like, in my mind, I was like, I have to do this again right now or go home having done the boulder, but not having done it. And like, I don't know if I can go back. Like, I just don't know if I can do that to myself. That's like the worst feeling, like having done it, but having to do the entire process over again,
right?
You know? And I was like, this was the moment. Like the first try, like when I felt the best, like now I feel a little bit tired. Like my fingers don't feel great. And also just like the mental weight of having sent but not being able to take it, it's so immense when you're projecting something so hard. Like already the Crux for me was doing Burden of Dreams. Like the idea of this Burden of Dreams was like hard for me. Like going to the last move, which is really hard, and then I think like it enters my conscience that I might almost send Burden of Dreams, and I just can't do the move. I'm inaccurate. Like I'm not dialed in with just the weight, how I get pressure on my foot, something like that, you know, like, but now like there's this extra weight that was way heavier having done the climb and knowing I had to redo it. And so I did the same mental processes that I did before I send, or before I dab send, to kind of clear my mind. And I was just like, I have no choice but to just like relax, like do some breathing and repeat the exact same process and like trust that I am strong enough. And I knew I was.
Did you send it second after that?
No. So I did it. I was like, I still feel really good. And then, but mentally I wasn't there. I pull on like a few minutes later, like 5 minutes later, don't do the first move. I totally missed the first move. And I'm like, fuck, I might be screwed. Like, I'm like, this is bad. Like, I can't do the first move.
Dude.
And I'm like, okay, I'll rest like 10 minutes. And I rest 10 minutes. I have a good go after that where I fall on the last move again. And I'm like, okay, like, I feel okay. I have like 1 or 2 more goes left. And then I send the go after that. I rest 15 minutes and I pull on, feel good. And yeah, I send. And then when I get to the top, like my pointer finger is like just bleeding. Like I'm split. I'm super split. Like it was like, that was the last go.
Yes.
That was the last go I could do it.
Dude, let's go. Let's go. You sent Burden twice in a session. And by all accounts, I don't know how you feel about this, but a lot of the comments when you posted the good link video, which was just, God, such a cold caption. When you dab, you kind of, your foot comes in and it like, just kind of like kicks a little bit the Asana blubber that you had like right on top there. And a lot of the people were saying, hey, that actually probably made it harder because it halted the momentum that you had coming back into the wall.
Yeah. I mean, so if you're on the come in on that swing, the right hand's like pretty decent if you're, at least if you have the left hand pretty well. And so that's never really the crux for me. If you have it really dialed, for some people that is actually quite hard, but for me, I don't think it made a difference either way, honestly. The only thing that made a difference was when I dabbed, it takes the pressure off completely to send. And it's just like, I'm just going to the top so I can do a good lick. I can dial it in. Right. And so they made it easier, I would say, just mentally, but they made it way harder to actually send. So that's kind of how it was.
Well, while we're here, let's talk about grade. Okay, we can't. It's like impossible to have a conversation about one of the hardest climbs in the world without opening that can of worms. So let's talk about grade for a second here, because just to recap, this was your second trip out there. Your first trip, you'd only had a few sessions, and the conditions were not in your favor. And then you came back out here, and this was like your fourth day or something like that, and you sent it twice.
Yeah, fourth day of this trip.
Right, of this trip. So it was like 7 sessions total, some of them not high quality, a couple sends, a dab send, and then a full send on it.
Yeah.
What's your take then? Like, reflecting on that, what is the true difficulty from your perspective, right? It's just all a personal perspective for you, for Burden of Dreams.
Yeah, I have no idea. This is a thing. Oftentimes, like, if you're climbing in a thing that's exactly your style, a climb that's exactly your style of any sort, like, you have a bad idea of the grade relative to other people. Right. Like you're way more separated from what we could call objective reality. I'd rather call it the intersubjective reality, but you're way separated from, you're the outlier. Why are you going to talk to the outlier about what they like? I mean, of course you should take their, like what they say into account, but like, given that they're the outlier, like it doesn't make sense to translate to some objective belief. And I understand that. So, and also my experience has been shaped by a more intersubjective experience of watching my friends who are insanely strong try this climb. So I went with Hamish the first time and Yannick Flohe, who's like one of the strongest board climbers in the world the second time. And also my great friends, Adam Shahar and Austin Hoyt, who I grew up with, went this year as well. And none of them, collectively, all of them did the first move once. And that was just Hamish in like many sessions. I kind of believe like their experiences with this boulder more than my own. You know what I mean? Like when I'm at the spray wall training with my friends or my brother, I'll do a climb and I'll be like, oh, you should try this. And they're like, you don't know how difficult this is. I'm not going to try this. I just have a really bad perception of climbs in my style. I mean, it makes sense because like, I think I'm fairly lucky, like genetically, I probably maybe have good tendon insertions or something. Yeah, I don't know. But like holds might just feel bigger for me in certain positions and stuff. And so like, it's just like a different, totally different experience. Like I have different like axes and like metrics and stuff.
Sure.
Compared to other people in this specific style. In other styles, I'm totally awful. Like toe hooks, I'm like V2.
So Burden of Dreams felt easy to you is what we're dancing around here.
It was easy to do all the individual moves. Easy relative to what I expected.
Right.
So easier. And what I expected based on other people's experiences. But then it still took me 7 sessions to send. And I was like, what? Like, if I was trying any V15 or 16 or anything of any grade, like that isn't V17, and I did all the moves first session, and then I could do all the moves very quite high percentage every session after that, and I didn't send in like 2 sessions, like that'd be kind of weird. Like I think it's harder, and I would think it's harder. Like it's not that hard to link 4 moves that you have all 100% success on in ISO, but for Burden it was. And so my impression was that if you are doing all the moves like high percentage every session, you're not close to sending at all. You're super far away from sending. You need to have every move dialed. And based on my perception of other climbers on it, it's hard to have every move dialed. And some people just genetically, it will be difficult for them to reach that point. And even when people have it dialed, it takes a while. I'm trying to think like Ritu. I think about him because he flashed the first move. The first time he was ever there, he flashed the first move, which is a one move like 13 or 14, right? He's on a trip after that initial trip, and he still hasn't sent. And it's because it's so hard to do it, even when you're really good at it. Same with Nikolai Uznik.
Oh, yeah.
Nikolai has done 2 trips, and he destroyed it. We basically had the same exact experience on it. Like, he did the move second try, I think, and then he almost sent in like two sessions. And then it was hard for him to execute, and it was hard for me to execute. Like, there was a very good possibility I didn't send on my second trip. And so this is my perception of the boulder, and it's impossible to parse. Like, my perception is also my perception of other people trying it and their experiences. And given that style is so important at the top level, and like there's always outliers specializing in the styles of like these hardest boulders, like I think it's important to actually include the holistic experience, you know?
Yeah, man, it's super thoughtful. I mean, I really appreciate the nuance on that, and especially you just essentially understanding that you are an outlier, that you are a freak on this style kind of board climb, and so your experience on it is going to feel a lot different than others. It's also very meaningful, just with regard to kind of the grade talk around Burden of Dreams, that you were climbing it with Hamish, who had sent 2 of the world's hardest problems in pretty short order with Megatron and then No One Mourns the Wicked. And then Yannick on the second one, who sent No One Mourns the Wicked and then suggested a downgrade for that one at V16. The chatter was that it would be a coin toss that you might downgrade Burden, but you feel that it is safe at the V17.
If I did it in my first session back, there's a good chance I would have downgraded it. Even my second session back, if it felt like an easy process, I think I would have downgraded it, you know, but it didn't feel like an easy process for me. And the mental aspect was definitely there, but it's also hard to parse away like the mental aspect from the physical, and mental is like a part of difficulty as well, you know?
Well, and can we talk about the technique on it as well? Because the technique you used, the beta you used, was different from that of Nale's, right, if I understand, and I think Will Bosey as well. There's a few different betas out there now. It's crazy. What seemed to be a very straightforward climb now has like a handful of different unique betas. And so can you compare yours to the First Ascensionist Nale's and how they differ?
So I didn't even try that beta, unfortunately. Yannick did, right? And I guess I'll just speak for Yannick and some of myself. Like, we seem to arrive at the idea that it's around a half grade easier with this beta, maybe 0.75, something like that. Like, not the boulder, just the link, right? So
the drop knee.
And maybe the boulder also after this, like it's a little bit easier. The boulder is definitely a little bit easier. The entire boulder is definitely a little bit easier with this new beta, but not a lot easier, which is to say like a whole grade necessarily.
And can you just break it down kind of visually for us?
Actually, I'm not a great guy to break down Nale's beta. We have a whole Wheel Rock video where Yannick breaks it down, but Nale did the first move, and then he places his left foot down low, right foot out to the right foot that we use for the drop knee, and then he piano matches where he just replaces his pointer with his pointer. So he has his left hand and his right hand on this right hand, and then he goes, I think he maybe takes his left foot cut, and then he goes up right hand to a pretty good pinch, and then he matches that pinch with, I think, a higher-ish left foot. and he does the same last move. Whereas we do the first move, and then we place this kind of precarious drop knee that's pretty far out with a left foot that I don't think Nale uses, but I'm not sure. Maybe he does. But it's the start hold, basically, the right hand start hold. And the right foot is on what Nale uses. And then we reach up left to the hold that he matches on before the third move. So we go left first, he goes right first. We come into the pinch that way. And I'd say it's around a V12 sequence that way, maybe. Whereas for Nale, I would guess it's like a V13 sequence.
And I think you did a video as well with Yannick where I think you threw all of this in Darth Grader and it came out 9A soft. Is that right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's all relative because there's no such thing as soft. But, you know, I mean, again,
yeah. No. I mean, it is. Like, for some people, the first move is like definitely V14, like the hardest move in the world for a lot of people. For me, it doesn't feel like that. So I'd say it feels more like a one move 13 to me. For a lot of people, it feels like a one move 14. But even the drop knee is not like easy. Like I know, yeah, for the first few sessions, it was my Crux. It took a while for me and Hamish to figure out. I know Tomoa, that was a Crux for him, just straight up. Like he'd stick the first move a lot, and then the drop knee was hard for him. In fact, and Elias couldn't do the drop knee beta, I think, or he just thought this heel beta was easier. So he voided out with the heel beta. And then Ryuichi doesn't do the drop knee beta. I'm not sure why. And he does Nale's original beta, which is different than his match beta. And it's actually more similar to the drop knee beta, where you do the first move and you place your right foot on the right start. And I think you either heel the left hand or you just toe in left, like you kind of pinching, like you're squeezing.
Right.
And then you just cross straight up to the three fingers. So it's also one move. It kind of seems like good beta. I think I would have tried it if I knew about it before I sent. I think that's also just like, it's kind of stylistic. Like if you make it a few more easier moves, like maybe if you're like better at a certain type of board climbing, or you have like really strong fingers, like doing Ryuichi's beta is like the best / Nale's OG beta. Like it's just stylistic.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
That's part of the bouldering process. What makes it so interesting is that we can find different betas to suit our style. Just looking back at your day where you had the dab send and then you had the clean send, comparing that to the prior days where you were out, where obviously you're very strong and had prepared for those moves. Did you make any changes? Were there micro adjustments that helped unlock the send?
There was a micro adjustment every day. After the first day, the drop knee was really hard for me. And I analyzed and I found a good spot for the left foot for the drop knee. And it had been the place that I used the prior sesh. And so I used that drop knee placement, and then I didn't drop the drop knee again. Because I was way better at foot tension my second trip than my first as well. So that became pretty high percentage. And then I think after the third session, the last move was the Crux for me. And I knew like I could send if I was just the same way that I was in the third session. But I obviously wanted to find some sort of advantage, because for the first move, I had some sort of mental directive, some sort of micro beta mental directive. And for the second move, the cross, I had some sort of mental directive as well. And that allowed me to like subvert my attention off of macro implications of sending and into micro beta, which like facilitates flow, But for the last move, I didn't have that, and that's why I kind of got unchained from my bodily experience, and I started thinking more mentally. And so I needed something to like chain myself to the rock, kind of. And for me, that was just sag lower, like just have better generation, rely less on my like strength and power and more on physics, kind of. And so like I got lower, got more under my hands, and that was the unlock for me. Like a very simple thing, because I could already do the last move like 100% in ISO pretty much. And so it didn't feel like I needed to find micro beta, but the micro beta helped a lot for just bringing my mind where it needed to be. And that was what I needed for the last day.
Man, I love that. I love having those, that, like, as you're saying, the kind of like the anchors to keeping you in that moment. So your mind isn't like thinking about the send or the top out. You're thinking about, okay, just this moment, this move. I did see a comment from our friend, Coach Charlie Schreiber, about on the dab send, where he said something like, oh, at least the new tick for that right hand seemed to be in the right spot or something like that. So were you playing with that?
Yeah, we had a goalpost tick because I knew like everyone else used it, but that's a fallacy, I guess, And then I switched it to a single tick because I talked to Charlie and he was like, one objective is better than two when it comes to accuracy. And it was true. And like then I was way more accurate.
So you didn't move the tick, you just removed the goalpost.
No, I moved the tick because the goalpost was for pinky and pointer, and I switched it to middle instead.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good. It was probably mental as well.
Yeah.
Like goalpost is kind of, it's not bad for accuracy for a lot of people, but for me, I had to simplify. That was the ideal. So it helped for sure.
Dude, I love it. Thank you for just like fully geeking out on this with us here.
Yeah, of course.
It's just so cool.
That's the process.
This episode is supported by our friends over at Arc'teryx, and I am so psyched on this top secret harness that Jonathan Segrist has helped to design over the past couple of years. It's called the Lethos SL, and it was just released. I've been testing one for a little while now, and man, it is nuts. If you are a sport climber and you're looking for a new harness, this one has got to be on your list to check out. It is ridiculously light, okay? It's only got 2 gear loops on there. So if you're going to be out in the alpine, you're doing trad climbing or whatever, this isn't for you. But if you're a sport climber and you only need to carry draws with you, it is bonkers light, and they use this warp strength technology to make it ultra thin. Like, I'm telling you, you don't even feel that the harness is on, which is like a bit of a weird sensation at first. But then you definitely feel it when you take a big whip like I do, and it catches you nice and soft. I've been hanging around on some of my projects recently, not sending, and I'm telling you, usually ultra lightweight harnesses are very uncomfortable. But the way they've built this, the load is distributed evenly around, and so I can hang in this harness and work on a project, and then when I'm sending, again, you just don't even feel it. The other cool thing about this harness is that Arc'teryx has made it incredibly customizable. So you don't just order a size like small, medium, large. You actually order the size of your waist and the size of your leg loops independently. So if you always skip leg day and you've got some little chicken legs there, you can order smaller leg loops. Or if you never skip leg day and you've got some trunks down there powering you up your sport climbs, then you can order some wider leg loops. It cuts down on the weight because they're not adjustable, but also you can fully customize this harness. So if you are in red point mode, pop over to Arc'teryx and check out the Lethos SL. I will put that link right down there in your show notes. We're going to move on to the nutrition chapter here. I guess, first of all, let me ask you about struggle. Any struggles with nutrition?
I mean, honestly, yeah. So like in college, I ate whatever the hell I wanted, basically. After college, I felt like I had to lock in. And so I started cooking for myself. I'd eat yogurt in the morning and then salad at night, pretty much. And after like a month of doing this, or 2 months, I like just had no energy. And I was like, what the hell? Like, I was also working out. I started working out at that point,
right,
like, because I was injured. And I was like, what the hell? Like, I feel super tired. I have no energy reserves. And I like called my parents and they were like, yeah, like you're eating like way under the amount of calories you should be. Like bouldering is a pretty like, I don't know, energy dependent sport. Like you need to have the reserves. I like carbs. And I was like basically doing like a no carb diet, like accidentally. And so that was kind of just like a mistake. I thought I was doing the correct thing, like eating healthy, but I was going way under and it was unhealthy for that reason. And so I started reincorporating carbs in more.
I love carbs so much. Let's just talk about carbs for a few minutes. What's your favorite carbs?
I like pretzels a lot. I like apples, a lot of fruit.
Okay.
What I do in my house is like, instead of getting like cheeses or something, which I do get occasionally, I'll surround myself with healthy snacks. So when I want to snack, I will snack, but I'll do them like something that I like a lot, but is still healthy. It's weird shit. It's like Parmesan, like I love Parmesan. So I'll keep Parmesan around.
You've been talking to Will Bosey too much. That dude eats like...
Yeah, it's so weird. The Parmesan
diet.
Yeah, that's for the protein.
Dude, wait a minute.
Yeah.
This is interesting now. Is Parmesan the one weird trick we all need to know to boulder harder?
Dude, Parmesan is so good. Every pro climber I know either eats Parmesan or what do you call it? Cottage cheese. Like it's all high protein cheese. That's like the big thing.
That's the beta.
But I just love Parmesan. It's like my favorite cheese.
Dude, cheese is the fucking best.
So good, dude. Yeah, dude. That's a good... Eat cheese, dude. Yeah, snack on cheese. That's a good...
That's my YouTube.
It's better than cheese anyways.
That's my pull quote, is Parmesan will help you send. But you said you love protein. So yeah, like what do you... I don't know. What's a day in the life? What do you like to eat?
I don't know. I'm big into kava bowls. I'll do like a lot of chicken in the salad, rice salad bowl.
Got it.
I eat like 6 eggs in the morning.
6
for
eggs?
Brunch. And I put like, 5 or 6 eggs for like brunch. And then I'll throw like beef on top of that sometimes. Like it tastes really good though. And I'll eat that with bread as well. That's like a ton of protein. But I realized, I think junior or senior year, I just always felt a little tired and like just heinous. I just felt like beat up. And then I started reading about like eating habits because I hadn't done that before. And protein's all the rage right now. And so I started like increasing my protein intake by a lot, not like tracking, just like being intentional. And I felt way better. I always felt like I had energy. I was like, whoa, like this is insane. So I kept doing that. And yeah, it feels way better. And it just tastes, proteins is good too.
Yeah. Umami, just umami overload. What are you doing on climb days? You're out at Burden, you're out at the other blocks. What are you doing to give you the energy you need to try hard?
Dude, I'm a big caffeine fiend as well. So I'll do like a lot of coffee on non-climbing days, and on climbing days I'll do some coffee and then usually an energy drink. I'll eat a lot of like granola bars. I'll usually do the same breakfast, like eggs or yogurt oftentimes. If I'm on a trip, yogurt's so easy.
Right.
That I often just eat like protein yogurt. Also, like I'll do like electrolyte drinks sometimes if I remember. Those are good. I drink a lot of water too.
How psycho is your caffeine intake? Do you have like a milligram idea?
Not insane.
No?
Dude, my dad, he was doing like 7-8 cups of coffee a day. Insane. He was doing like, I think at one point he had like 1,000 milligrams of caffeine a day. I don't do that. So maybe it's in my genes, but I probably do like 300 grams or 250 on a climbing day. Otherwise I'll do like 150 to 200, maybe like 2 shots on a non-climbing day.
And what about to celebrate the send? Did you get a pizza out of the vending machine after topping out Burden?
No, dude, that was when I failed. But Finland in the summer or the spring has like messed up, what do you call it? Sun habits.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like just sets super late. So he was like 70 degrees and sunny during the day. So he couldn't climb during the day. So that was after like a 9 p.m. session and it was like 11. So everything was closed. So we just ate pizza. It had no cheese in it. Yeah, I think it was lactose free.
Oh, interesting.
I'm a little bit lactose intolerant, so that was good. I don't like pizza. I get bloated like from pizza. Same with burgers. Like I would eat them if I didn't just feel heavy after eating them and get really bloated and stuff. Because that's not a good. You don't need. It's not about like your actual weight. It's just about like your feeling, kind of, for me at least.
Let's talk about tactics now. We've touched a little bit on tactics in this conversation here about Burden and skincare and how poorly your tactics were when you were younger. But you figured a lot out since then. But is anything still a struggle tactically?
Yeah, I mean, I have like ADHD and stuff. So I'm kind of scatterbrained. I forgot my hangboard to Finland. Like I just didn't have one. And I was like, and Yannick brought 2. And so I was using his, but like if he wasn't there, I would have had to buy one, I guess. Also, like I brought shoes that were just not at all. I brought like 4 months old. I bought 3 pairs of like 4-month-old shoes. And I thought they'd be good because they were good on the board, but they were like really bad. And so I had to resole one of them while there. And Finland like does not have a big climbing culture. It was hard to find spots. They don't ship Evolve shoes, or it's like hard to get them. So I had to resole the shoes, but it turned out well. But
yeah,
they were just things where like like my past self just bit me in the ass, and that happens all the time. But I'm used to it, so that's the biggest thing.
What's really interesting as I look back, as you noted, I mean, you were like just fully in the comp world until you were 18. And then if I understand correctly, I don't know, not everything online is real news report, but was your first outdoor boulder in 8A?
Yeah, pretty much. I'd been out like once before in the rain, like for like just like a chill like comp like years prior, but I wasn't like actually going out to send. But my first like real day out just to climb outside and like that's it. I did this climb proximity infatuation in a few tries with Austin Hoyt. He also did that one that day. And then I put up a V12 on the same day.
Dude. So just kind of in terms of tactics, I mean, obviously outdoor tactics is going to be quite a bit different than indoor tactics. We talked about a lot of them just with Burden of Dreams, talking about tick marks and skin, taping, conditions. What stands out to you in this fairly kind of meteoric rise that you've had in outdoor climbing that seem to be the difference makers for you? And also we throw technique into this. And so it could be learning heel hooks or top outs or any number of other things that when you're going from board climbing to outdoor climbing or vice versa, because a lot of people listening to this right now, their psych is indoors, but just techniques and tactics that have made like an outsized impact benefit for you.
I mean, I was inherently good at board style climbing, but as a result, I always had like pretty terrible footwork and I didn't know how to keep my feet at all. And a really great tip that Daniel Woods actually gave me when I was first climbing in Colorado the first few years was like pulling away from the wall instead of just down and instead of just pushing. And this is like huge for me. This is like revelatory. And I could keep my feet on boards like way better just by pulling away from the wall. And like that progressed into training my, like actually working out my legs a little bit more and like exerting way more force through my legs when I pull away. And as I was saying, you can follow these pockets of nuance infinitely.
Let's dive deeper into this for a second here. When you say pulling away, give me just like a practical example. You're on a board. And so like, what does pulling away mean?
I mean, you can just practice it. Like you hop on a kilter board and you have like 2 jogs and you have like one of those small feet below you, the small foothold only like kilter board holds. And they're a little bit in-cut, you know? And so you like put your foot on that and then like, instead of having it straight down, just flat, like make it vertical, like pull your heel up like a talon and then feeling like you like it is a talon, like you pull away from the wall while pushing in, like away from the, like away and into the wall. And that's kind of like the optimal way to create a really strong anchor with your foot on a steep terrain, at least. And when you can do that on the boards, you like can build getting used to putting weight through your feet. And that translates into applying weight in different ways that aren't just like talon grip foot positions. Like you're comfortable using your lower body. And I wasn't comfortable using my lower body in like any positions, but there's so many ways in which pulling away from the wall is beneficial with your feet. Like heel hooks, like that's pulling away from the wall. That was huge for me.
And so did you find yourself, as you started implementing that on board climbs, did you find yourself cutting feet less? Do you try to cut feet less now?
What I do with boards is I use them as a tool. Like I would set climbs where I force myself to keep my feet, even if I don't necessarily have to, but also where I feel like I have to. I take this idea and I create like an entire system of training around it. And it's kind of like an abstract system. It's not like a direct plan, but just like a directive that I can then live my life with, like in mind. And so I did that with pulling weight with my feet. And I actually remember the day after, like I learned this, like I hopped on the wall and I was like, I don't know like how effective this will be, but I'm going to like have this as a directive for a while and see how it goes. And I guess it was a big thing for me, but a lot of people have really good footwork. Like there's like, I think this is more just like an example of the way you can take like something that was totally out of your mind and like build around it and like incorporate it into your existent strengths.
Yeah, taking that same concept and applying it to the hands, do you have a grip that's your go-to and by proximity one that is a bit of an Achilles heel or one that is kind of underdeveloped in the toolkit?
Yeah, so my go-to grip is the half crimp. That's just like my strongest grip by far. I think for me, it feels like the most tendon strength dependent grip because when you go, it's like quite aggressive. It's more aggressive than the open hand, like the drag. But then when you go into full crimp, like a lot of people they don't seem to be relying on their tendons as much. It's like some other part of their finger system. But yeah, I feel super comfortable in half crimp. Like I feel like I can exert just a ton of pressure and just dangle. And I think I do half crimp with like a straight pointer finger oftentimes. There's a specific name for this grip, chisel grip, I think.
Chisel grip.
But to talk about not liking it, I have no idea why. Like they say it's bad, but that's a go-to like rest position grip for me, at least, or like comfortability grip, like on kilter holds, like that's the go-to. But my weakness was always full crimps because they didn't feel like fluid at all or natural.
Right.
Because I always climbed with half crimp and I think they rely less on like tendon strength. Also, the reason I'm pretty good at half crimp is because like the last digit of my finger doesn't bend back when I put pressure on it. You see, like it just goes flat. And so I can't actually get full crimp leverage on my fingers because they only bend at one joint, which is really good for half crimping because this will never, like my fingers will just like never give out at the last joint. But when you full crimp a flat hold, you need your last joint to bend to like get register on the hold,
right.
You know? This is why I'm actually bad at defying gravity from the bottom. This is why I'm bad at knowing words are wicked, because a lot of people, the left hand is a flat full crimp for like a lot of people, like Yannick and Hamish, and I can't get register on it. I can't bend my fingers to pull away from it. So it's just way harder for me. But if it's like a very in-cut small hold, I can full crimp it and pull away because I have to pull away, and that's like really good. But I think my fingers were like pretty tweaky when I was younger. I didn't rest well, like things like this. I board climbed too much. Like the more I feel like my fingers have gotten healthier and I've rested more and I've gotten them much stronger as well, just by board climbing, like healthily, full crimp has felt easier. Like it hasn't been like I've really trained full crimp, the full crimp position. It's more like I've gotten my fingers feeling better and they become way more capable of full crimping at that point.
Right.
Like if you work finger strength in general on the wall, not just on hangboards at least, then I think the other grips will feel easier. And then you can start using them and then they'll feel even easier.
Do you test your finger strength?
Not really.
Yeah.
I mean, I did it like once or twice on the Sin deck. I'm really into doing one arm pull-ups on micro grips because I think it's like the most applicable form of hangboarding. So I've been doing a lot of that. When I was training for burden on my right hand, I did like a one arm pull-up on 8mm with like 10 pounds or something. Yeah, and I did a 20mm one arm with like 40 pounds maybe.
Oh my God, dude, it's psycho.
Yeah, so those are my good metrics.
Well, let's talk about mental game. We've touched on it a little bit, and I just feel like you're going to have a lot to say here, so I want to make sure we reserve some time for that. Before we dive into some of your process around getting that cold mindset, like we talked about for Burden of Dreams, let's talk about struggle. Anything been a struggle for you on the mindset side of things?
When I was younger, I would rage a little when I fell or when I thought I couldn't do a boulder that I should do outside. Maybe when I was like an older teen, but that's kind of completely gone away. And I'm not sure exactly why. I think it's just experience. Like the more you understand that you're good at some things and you're really bad at other things, like the more you're okay with being bad at other things. And so, yeah, it's kind of just like the more you understand yourself and you're like humble about yourself, then the less like, I don't know, yeah, your anger will get the hold of you. And that's definitely been the case for me. And so when I project is kind of the same, I kind of accept that it takes a while sometimes. And some days like you feel bad. It's all just accepting the world. The more that you have a process and you eventually send, the more you like go into the next process, understanding that it'll eventually happen, but it might take a while.
Yeah, but there can be kind of a new level of mental pressure and anxiety that even come with knowing that the send is maybe imminent or quite likely. And I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah. If you're early in the process, it's good to know that maybe that like it'll come eventually. Yeah. If you're late in the process and you're giving, I mean, there's two parts of the projecting process. There's working the moves and discovering it. And then there's going for the send. Mm-hmm. And you never know how long either of those are going to take, but they both suck when you're doing them at moments. Like it does suck when you feel like you can do it and you're just not. And you do need a different process for either. So when you're in the initial one, I think optimism is really good. Like what you need is like a drive to keep discovering and keep going. And once you figure it out, then it becomes about taking away this is what I was talking about earlier, taking away the macro elements and focusing exactly on the micro elements, what you learned in part one. Basically whatever anyone posts about the projecting process, they're always like, it was about being in the moment. It was about discovering flow. It was about focusing on micro beta, you know, like it's all the same thing, guys. It's about taking away that macro and focusing on that micro.
That's in phase one here. You're looking to make moves, learn, figure out beta, hopefully have some linear progress. So you're kind of getting these little wins along the way.
And be optimistic enough to keep going. Mm-hmm. And phase two is when you are going for the send, like you're giving bot rips. That's it, you know, where you know you could send on any go. And you need to like take away the focus from the actual send itself. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
And so you did that on Burden, it sounds like, with figuring out the kind of the micro adjustments that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, I did it on Shaolin and Sleepwalker as well. It's slightly different in every project, though. It's like you have to rediscover it sometimes. Yeah,
I'd love to, just for my purposes and those who are listening, I'm mostly a route climber, although I just went through a bouldering phase where I spent like...
Your route might be totally different. I don't know.
Well, I mean, routes are just bigger boulders, basically. I mean, it's still trying to learn moves and then starting at the bottom and hopefully getting to the top. I'm curious for you what that process looks like. How do you set goals, or are you even setting goals when it comes time to do the thing? Like, how are you kind of checking in with where you're at?
I mean, you kind of just know when you should start giving send rips. Like you have the links.
So the goal just becomes the send at that point in time. So you put in the work up to this point in time. Now it's 100%. Like, okay, I'm going to go for the send.
there's a moment where you're like, I'm giving sen rips. Like I'm giving bar rips. That's like the same.
Right.
To me, that's the same thing as giving sen rips.
Got it.
You know?
Yeah. And so for you, what's going on between the ears right before you pull on?
What's usually going on in 90% of the pull-ons is, oh, the weather's not great. Like my fingers feel a little wet. Like I wonder if they're gonna dry fire here. Like, oh, is that pad too high? Like, well, I want it. You might, yeah. Like, oh, the top out's kind of scary. Like, I don't know if I'll be able to do it. Like, this is affecting my mental. It's everything. It's like, oh, like if I send, like, what's it gonna mean for myself and for people who perceive it? But ideally, and this is the most difficult moment in the charging process, it's like right before you're about to pull on. Like that's the moment. That's like the mental crux. For like ideally, you're thinking about nothing at all, or just your beta, or you're feeling your body like in some way. You're like you feel embodied. That's ideal. It's about, and this is what I'm saying about taking away the macro. Like you shouldn't even be focused on the temps when you're sitting under the boulder about to give a go. Ideally, you probably shouldn't even be like focused on the beta in a questioning manner. Like you shouldn't be about like, is this beta good? Like, should I do this or this? Like, it's okay to think about the beta, but you need to be like certain about it. It's about facilitating the optimal mental conditions to send, and they are pretty particular and they're embodied. That's just the biggest thing. It's all about embodiment. I think that's why a lot of people are drawn to outdoor bouldering or even route climbing. Cause like some people are more, I don't know, it's difficult for a lot of people to feel embodied and like to feel this like combination of the mind within the body. And I think climbing like oftentimes forces you to do that. I'm very in the head all the time. You know what I mean? I'm always like thinking about something. It's hard for me to like just let go, and climbing is like a process to find that.
Is there any kind of tricks or processes or rituals, whatever the word may be, that you've found work for you? Maybe you're feeling like the pressure on burden you talked about. Okay, well, you had the dab send. You know, you've only got so much skin, so much condition, so much power left in reserve. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of noise that can happen there. Like, how do you try to help facilitate yourself to get into that moment, into that zone?
Yeah. So, I mean, also we were talking about earlier, like mental directive for every move. Like you need something to focus on in every move if you can just like free your mind and find flow easily, you know? So like if I'm about to pull in for the first move, I could be thinking about the weather and blah, blah, blah. Or like I could be looking at the next hold and thinking, I need to hit this right here. I need to push with my foot in this way, pull away and push. And then I pull on and I'm still thinking that, and I'm chained to the boulder in that way. And then I hit the next hold and then I'm like, okay, I need to place my left foot here, but like push this way, push away. Like, I don't know, whatever it is. That really helps for me a lot. And then like, it also just like my mind will wander while I'm climbing, but I'll still see that directive there, that beta directive, and I'll be able to move back towards it. Yeah, it's kind of like juggling when you're on the wall sometimes. Another thing is music, if that helps for you. I was doing music in all my sessions with bird until my last session. I didn't know music, just listen to the birds and stuff and like the wind and all that. But yeah, you can get chained to your like environment if it's distracting from like your mind. And also breathing is really helpful. Any breathing process. I think holding your breath can be helpful, or just deep breaths before you pull on. And breathing is a very traditional way to like become embodied. Even a lot of like spiritual practices and stuff as well. I don't meditate before I pull on, but I want to look into that as well. And I'm sure a lot of people do.
Are you trying to hype yourself up or calm yourself down by and large before you pull on?
I mean, I feel like I'm drinking too much caffeine, and also strength doesn't feel like it's the limiting factor on most boulders. And so I'm trying to calm myself down. But when I'm hyped up, I'm not embodied, so it doesn't really make sense.
Well, by the time this episode comes out, for the last year, I've been working on an app that is just out. Charlie Schreiber is a collaborator for it, and Hazel Finley is a collaborator for it. It's called Intentional Climber. I'll send you a link so you can check it out. But anyway, there's a whole mindset tab over there, and Hazel's got a bunch of these meditations. One for when you're about to pull onto a project, one for when you feel like you suck, one for when you want to foster some more gratitude and some lightness in your life. And I've really been enjoying those. So you said you might want to look into some meditations. There are some guided meditations in there that could prove helpful.
Oh yeah, dude. I would love to. Yeah, no, Hazel Finley seems super knowledgeable about that stuff. I'm trying to look into that more.
We're just scratching the surface of unlocking what we're capable of when we're like fully embodied, we're fully present, I had a deep conversation with Hamish about this as well. We put so much focus and emphasis for understandable reasons on finger strength metrics or rate of force development or technique and all that, because those are the tangible things. But man, I just feel like there's so much to be unlocked on the mindset side.
Yeah, dude. I mean, when do you like feel like you're actually executing at your best and your like optimal capacity, like your max capacity, like outdoors on a project? For me, it's like never, you know, like it never feels like that.
Right.
It's so hard to be in the right mental space. I don't know. I was thinking about this last year a lot, like in tennis or something, like if you have an opponent, it's like they force you into an embodied mindset. Whereas in climbing, like you have to force it on yourself. Like the boulder is just like a stagnant thing. It's not forcing you into any sort of mindset. You have to do that yourself. And it feels like it makes that way more difficult than in some other sports. There are obviously sports where you're also your like opponent, but.
No, it's a good point. We kind of have to be able to bring that ourselves, as sometimes in competitive sports, it's made easier in some regards because we're being pushed by an opposing force. Well, I wanted to talk to you before we shift off of this, and I don't know if this ties in or not, but you mentioned this book at the beginning of our conversation called The Happiness Advantage, and I'd like to know a little bit more about that and how that's impacted your climbing.
Yeah, honestly, that's more of a, I don't know if the book is, I don't read many books. I don't know if it's an objectively good book. I definitely don't read like self-help books ever, except for this one time. But yeah, I've been doing a lot of like research. I mean, if you care about like materialism and stuff, there's a lot of research that says that you are more successful if you have a happy disposition, if you have an optimistic disposition. And this is like an obvious thing for me to explore. Like, why would anyone not look into this to optimize like their existence? Not to speak from like an optimizing perception of reality, but even just to feel better about your life.
It just feels good to be happy.
Like, yeah, but like, I mean, also, it's like, it's nice to be happy as well. It's not just about success, but for climbing, it is a tool. It's helpful. And so I'm reading this book and it's kind of just giving materialist reinforcement for why you should encounter situations with a happiness mindset, like predisposed towards happiness or optimism. And there's a lot of reasons you should do that for climbing as well.
I have to say, because I can speak from experience on this, I think we're born with a personality type or like a little bit of programming, a little bit of predisposition, the nature of the nurture. And I had, until I was in my mid-20s, kind of had a propensity to default to the pessimistic, to the negative. It's kind of easier to connect socially in some ways to complain and like, oh, this weather's garbage, or I don't have any money, or oh, that meal was bad. Kind of a misery loves company way of having some social currency. And I recognized one day, I was like, this is shit. Like, why is that my default? But then it took a lot of work, like a lot of intentional work. And the first thing I gave up was the news, because the news was just like, it's just all fucking dark. And so I gave up news entirely. And then I just started working on being more positive. Like, maybe the meal wasn't the best meal I ever had, but like, rather than talk about what I didn't like, I would talk about what I did like. It was just like these little changes. And I have to say, now that I'm in my mid-40s, I'm like a default positive person now. And I was a default negative person 10, 15 years ago. And so it is something that can be worked on. I'm psyched on this book. I'm going to check it out because it's made a big difference on it. And not just on my climbing, but just like on my life.
I mean, the answer you give, I feel like they give exactly in this book as well. I think you would like it a lot. Yeah.
Cool.
I'm glad that you discovered that on your own as well without reading this book. There's benefit in that as well, just like self-discovery. But I mean, yeah, I 100%.
And then selfishly for climbing, like, I think there is a physical lightness when there's a psychological lightness. Like if you're just like happy and feeling the vibes and feeling good, like you're just going to feel lighter on the rock. And that just makes for better climbing. So it's it's a virtuous cycle for sure.
Yeah, totally. I agree. Also, the news thing is so true, dude. I'm like Gen Z, so I don't watch the news ever. But when I see my parents have the news on, it's like bad story after bad story after bad story. Like, what are they doing here? Like, why are they doing this? It's like insane.
It's so psycho. I love that you guys are just like, and my kids too, well, just like, they just won't consume news. I mean, there's going to be other things that will consume them.
Yeah, we consume TikTok instead. But yeah.
Right, exactly. It's just like, it's TikTok or it's, YouTube Shorts or it'll be AI. There'll be any number of other things that'll probably be insidious, but just like the garbage of the 24-hour news cycle, hopefully that dies sooner than later. I want to have a few minutes here to talk to you about what's going on next. So Yeah, let's talk about what's up for you. Obviously, the feet hit the pads. You send one of the hardest things in the world. You pop down on the Asana pad, and the first question that anybody ever asks is what's next. But you're not going to just retire. So what are you psyched on now that you're back home?
So it's summer, which sucks because everywhere's too hot right now, especially with global warming. It's gnarly. So I'm going to try to go around to some other areas I'm psyched on, just like have fun more.
What does that balance look like for you? Like some people can go from the hardest thing to the hardest thing to the hardest thing. And me and I think many others are kind of like, you almost need like a reset period for a while. Is that?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm psyched to go to the hard stuff again. Yeah. There was so long where I was just training and rehabbing. And yeah, the last year has been all training basically.
Right.
And so I want to actually get outside, but that'll mostly come in the fall. I want to go to Ticino or I want to go to Switzerland and because I went to Switzerland once when I was injured. And so I want to go back actually healed and just try all my dream climbs. And there are some, I want to try some of the 17s out there as well. Push myself on that stuff. But after that, I do want to push the limits of board style climbs specifically. Because I feel and I don't know, is Burden soft? Is it the hardest board climb in the world? I don't know, probably. But it could be so much harder. It could be so much harder in this style. Yeah, I wanted to find that next level. So yeah, I want to I want to project in my style. Because I feel a lot of pressure to try climbs that aren't my style and do them. And maybe I can, maybe I can't. But I don't know. Yeah, it's why not just try what you're good at least for now.
Have you walked up to a harder burden out on rock? Have you put hands on what could be the next hardest board style outdoor climb?
No, I don't think so. I actually I get a perfect 45 or 50 degree crimp, short crimp boulder. Railing is pretty hard, but it's not as hard as burden. I put up this climb in Pennsylvania where I'm from called Yoragumo.
Yeah.
I gave it 15. It could be 16. It's really tiny holds. That's one of the hardest, probably the second hardest board style climb I've done.
Isn't that what you ruptured the finger on?
Yeah, I definitely weakened it on that. I didn't rupture it on that. I ruptured it on a board climb, on a pinch on a board climb. I took all my weight in it, but that was 2 days after ascent Yoragumo. Yeah. And the finger was tired. It was bad. It was partially ruptured.
The holds on that look so micro, dude. It's the hardest climb in Pennsylvania, right?
They're the smallest holds I've ever used, so crazy, for sure. I want to go to Bishop and try those board climbs, but also I'm scared of top outs. So I'll try Lucid, but I don't know if I'll try the process. We'll see.
The process looks full on, dude. I can't.
Yeah, dude.
But same thing with Lucid. It's just an easier exit, I guess, but it's still high as shit.
Yeah, I think it's the easiest exit. So
right.
I'll try that. But yeah, I want to put up.
What about creatively? What's going on with Wheel Rock?
I want to push the vlog style more. I think board climbing in a non-commercial way, but in a popular way, it can become another discipline, understood in the zeitgeist as another discipline, primary discipline. And through media, I feel I can help push that to be the case. I want it to be taken more seriously, basically, as more than just a training tool. And I understand a lot of people take it as more than a training tool, but a lot of people don't. And I think it's such an equalizer within our culture. Anyone can try the same climbs that any professional in the world is trying. That is incredible. And that is also something that you can see in other sports where the medium is just a soccer field or something, or a basketball hoop or something. These things are exactly, translatable to what the best in the world are doing. So yeah, I think it's equalizing as well. There's a lot of potential there. So I want to kind of explore that with Wheel Rock.
Yeah, I love that, man.
That's it. Yeah,
I love what you guys do on there. It's so entertaining. It's so good. It's raw. It's fun. It's funny. It's obviously stoked.
I want to portray a good time. Yeah, I want to portray the accurate good time that climbing is. That's also just optimize the portrayal of fun, Yeah,
fun maxing.
Yeah.
And you edit those?
Yeah, I feel if we hired a professional editor, it would lose the DIY feeling of it, right. Yeah.
I really like it. I really appreciate the work you guys put into it. And if people want to support, they can support you on Patreon to keep that channel rocking, right?
Yeah, for sure. For Wheel Rock, one of my goals is, it's hard because I'm also professional climber, but I want to do more like Patreon stuff, like more extra stuff. So every video I try to do like a Patreon cut or add a little extra. The biggest thing is Ben and I are just not in the same place super often. So
Right.
we need to just, be in the same place and make fun content.
I'm going to put a link down there in the show notes for those listening to their Patreon. So check it out, support if you can.
The burden trend will eventually be on that. I don't know when. And it'll be like uncut or something. It'll be
hell yeah.
Pretty relaxed.
Super psyched, dude. Man, this has just been such a delightful conversation. I really appreciate how thoughtful you've been here and just how psyched, and just congrats, dude. Congrats on everything you got going on, man. I'm hyped.
Yeah, thank you, dude. No, this has been fun.
All right, y'all, that wraps things up with absolute boss Noah Wheeler. Noah, thanks for hanging, man. Really appreciate it. Super insightful conversation. And if y'all want more insights, we have got a banger bonus episode. We continue this conversation for like another 20 minutes with Patreon questions and some topics we didn't get to unpack in this conversation, including why does he climb? Like, why climbing as opposed to some other like really hard sport that challenges him? I always think that's a really interesting question actually to ask ourselves. Like, why climbing? And then as part of that, we actually unpack his favorite move ever on a climb. And it is not the climb that you would probably think it would be. It was really cool to hear him talk through this favorite move of his, or his favorite sequence on that one. Loved that part of the conversation. He also opines on why board climbers are suddenly becoming like so dominant outside and what the future for board climbers might be in this sport that we all love so much. And then the other side of that coin is he shares what he's only able to do on a V5 level. And he's a V17 climber, one of the strongest climbers in the entire world, in the entire history of the world. And he shares what he's really bad at. And I think that's really fun. It's always fun to hear from like the elite climbers what they suck at. And then we talk about some other things, kind of the future of wheel rock and how he wants to see board climbing going and evolving into the future. And lastly, he ranks his V17 sends by difficulty. All of that's in the bonus episode over there for Apple subscribers or Patreon supporters. So if you're listening right now on an iPhone, you can double click right there, get a free trial and listen to the bonus episode with Noah totally for free, and then cancel if you don't want to listen to any more. Same thing with Patreon, free trial over there as well. You can listen for free and take advantage of over 150 hours of bonus content. That's bonus episodes with Adam Andra and Alex Honnold and, of course, Noah Wheeler, Dave McLeod, a million other mega superstar climbers, but also pro clinics on mindset. So we talked a little bit about Hazel Finlay and mindset in this episode. We've got a pro clinic from Hazel Finlay in there. We've got bouldering tactics in there from Allison Vest and Alex Johnson. We've got pro clinics on strength and power training from Dr. Tyler Nelson, board climbing with Ravioli Biceps. I mean, it's crazy. That whole library over there is nuts. So yeah, you can check it out for free, or if you want to stick around and help me make this show, I'd really appreciate it. It's a lot of work down here in the podcast/utility closet. So if you can sign up for Patreon or Apple subscriptions, even for a little bit, I'd really appreciate it. Another way you could support me and this show is by checking out my new app that I developed, by the way, with a fellow Patreon member. His name's Jeff. He's a climber. He's been a climbing coach, and he's just like a rock star developer. And this app has been in the works for over a year now, and I've been testing it. It's what helped take me from V4 to V8 when I was working on Bulldog. I was programming all of my training, reflecting, using Hazel Finlay's mindset tools, journaling, using the projecting tab to store beta videos, and there's programs in there from world-class coaches. Anyway, that's called Intentional Climber. I've been telling you a little bit about it here and there, and now it is out and it is ready. And if you use code STRUGGLE, you're going to get a discount on that app, and also you'll be able to take advantage of a free program called Stronger Fingers from Coach Chris Hampton from Power Company Climbing. It's an 8-week program for the time-strapped climber to get stronger fingers in 8 weeks, and that will be included if you use code STRUGGLE when you download the app. There's a 14-day trial, so you can try the app for 2 full weeks and load those programs and just pop around in there for 0 obligation. And then if you like it and you want to continue your subscription, then you can just keep it going. And that's what I do. I use it every single day to keep me more accountable, more motivated, more focused, and make every session count. And it's really made a huge difference. So yeah, that's my plug for Intentional Climber. And what else? Oh, climbing. So I climbed yesterday. As I'm recording this, I climbed yesterday out at the Red. and it's getting warm. You know, I mean, we're into June now, and I had a great time. I had a great session. Sometimes it's really nice to go out and have like those low expectation days. And this was just a volume day. Just went out with some friends and our daughters, and that's always fun because, you know, you can't really try like all that hard when the kids are running around. And they were collecting leaves and calling them dollar bucks. If you've seen Bluey, which is the greatest television show ever made, they call them dollar bucks as their money. I don't know if that's an Australian thing. They could say dollar bucks for money, or maybe it's a Bluey thing. In any case, they were collecting dollar bucks and just doing like all this imaginative play. And then me and a couple buddies were just like trying super hard on some moderates. And I got 6 pitches in, which is a lot for me. I am feeling wrecked today. But it was really good. It was really fun. And we were in the shade. And even though it was warm outside, it didn't feel warm in the shade. Like the rock felt great. And that's inspired me to try to get outside at least a handful more times here before it turns like super manky here in Kentucky. But it filled my heart. It definitely filled my heart. I had a great time out at the Red. And I hope you're having a great time with your climbing, indoors and out. I'm mostly moving indoors now. Been spending a lot of time in the gym, doing like gym sets, just climbing with friends on ropes or on the boulder sets at Rock Sport, my local gym here. And then also on my kilter board. Loving that. Just trying hard, ripping hard moves. Super inspired by the conversation with Noah to just try some really, really hard stuff on my board. Like I'm going to pull up, I'll see if Noah or Ben have set anything on the full ride, that they've got stuff on the regular kilter as well. But Jimmy Webb sets a lot on the full rides. I'm just going to pull up something gnarly. I'm going to pull up like, what does a V12 on my board feel like, just to kind of get inspired. So I'm going to try that. And we talk a little bit more about that in that bonus episode with Noah. So yeah, anyway, whatever you're doing with your training and your climbing, I hope you're freaking getting after it. What a gift that we get to do this and that this is our sport. What a freaking joy every day. Even if we're grinding hard, it's just so cool to climb, to move over rock or over plastic on a board with friends, solo sessions. Yeah, I really hope you are enjoying yourself out there. And if you want to get in touch, hit me up. I'd love to hear from you. I want to give a special thanks to Glenn Walker, who helps to edit these episodes, and to Haley and Philippa, who helps me to market them, and the sponsors of the Struggle Climbing Show. Thank you all for helping me to make it happen. Go ahead and download Intentional Climber right now, and then pop over to Patreon and check out this bonus episode with Noah, and have an awesome day. I'll see you all next week.